At Kroger Pharmacy, care is what's most convenient for you. Care is being here when you need us. We're open evenings and weekends. Care is helping you save more. Most insurance plans and discount cards are accepted at your local Kroger Pharmacy. Care is saving you time by managing your prescriptions online. You can request refills, check order status, and more. Care is convenience that works for everyone. Kroger Health, a world of care is in store. Services and availability vary by location. Age and other restrictions may apply. For coverage, consult your health insurance company. Visit the pharmacy or our site for details.
Welcome everyone to Couch Potato Diary. Happy Fightin' Friday. My name is Peter Klein. Thank you very much for tuning in today. The focus of this show is the focus of the fight world this weekend, as it's UFC 304 coming to you from England. So we're going to be breaking down the main card on this show today. That is going to be the entire focus. Let's get into it and preview UFC 304. All right, we've given you the fighters to focus on. We've given you the stories to watch for. Now it's time to figure out how these damn fights are going to go down. So let's start on the main card with Arnold Allen taking on Giga Chikadze in the featherweight division. Allen is 30 years old, born in Ipswich, England. So he's going to be one of the hometown boys on the show this evening, or coming up on Saturday. Training out of TriStar up here in Canada, as well as BKK Fighters UK. He's 19-3, 7 wins by knockout, 4 wins by submission. And he has a pair of decision losses on his resume. One of them coming in his last bout, a unanimous decision loss to Movsar Evloev. I know I'm saying that a little bit wrong, apologies. That gives him back-to-back losses after a 12-fight win streak where he had 4 stoppages. 10 of those 12 came in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. That is the third longest winning streak in UFC featherweight division history, including wins over Calvin Kattar, Dan Hooker, Sadiq Youssef, Nick Lentz, and Gilbert Melendez. He has been in the promotion since 2015. He is 10-2 in that time. He's a pro since 2012, started that pro career on a 7-fight win streak. He is a BJJ brown belt. Taking on Giga Chikadze, 35 years old, born in Georgia, training out of King's MMA, 15-3, 9 wins by knockout, 1 by submission. He's been submitted once, but the other 2 losses required the judges' scorecards. Coming off of a win all the way back in August 2023, and this is something we'll get into with him in a little bit. He beat Alex Caceres. That was his only fight in 2023, after just 1 fight in 2022. It's a bounce back after a loss to Calvin Kattar that ended a 9-fight win streak for him. His first decision win since 2020. He had finished his last 3 wins before that. He's been in the UFC since 2019 and is 8-1 in the promotion. This is his second UFC pay-per-view. The first was UFC 248 back in 2020. He almost got into the promotion in 2018, but lost on Dana White's Contender Series, and he's been a pro since 2015. And the inactivity is what has really got Chikadze over time, because he is a really interesting fighter when you see how patient he can be. And he's one of those guys, the volume isn't there a ton, but he absolutely brings the pop in everything that he throws. But he doesn't load up a lot either. It's a lot of just straight down the middle, so some really, really strong kicks as well. In that fight against Caceres was kind of doing the bobbing and weaving and all of that, and Chikadze was just like walking him down and just pop, pop, pop. Pop, pop, pop. It's going to be an interesting test here against Allen, who admittedly has hit a bit of a speed wobble at 30 years old with the loss to Evloev and the loss to Max Holloway. Those have kind of derailed a bit of a hype train after, like I said, wins over Kattar and Hooker and Youssef and Lentz and Melendez. He had been building and building and building and building and building, but that did hit a bit of a wall. Now, the one thing about that is that while I am a fan of Chikadze when it comes to his overall style, Allen has only been really outstruck by Max Holloway. Chikadze isn't going to do that. And he was out-wrestled by Evloev. And really, like, Evloev was putting a lot of pressure on. Allen fought a really good fight in that fight. He just kind of ended up on the wrong side of that. I do think he is going to be able to get the job done in this fight. I think that the speed that he has, again, that's not going to throw off Chikadze a little bit, but I think he's going to be able to beat Giga to the punch a little bit and be able to land some of his shots. And I just think that when he's not fighting some guys who have elite skills in the featherweight division, he's going to be able to show a little bit more of what we think he can do. So I think he is going to be able to get the job done in this bout. Shifting gears now to the middleweight division, as it is Christian Leroy Duncan taking on Gregory Rodriguez. Duncan, 29 years old, out of Gloucester, England. I'm probably saying that wrong. Again, apologies. Training out of Range Martial Arts Academy. He is 10-1, 8 wins by knockout, 1 by submission, and his only loss came by decision. His last fight, excuse me, was in March of this year, a TKO win over Claudio Ribeiro in the second round. He's won back-to-back fights, finishing both of them. He's been in the UFC since 2023, finishing all 3 of his wins. He's only ever fought in Cage Warriors and the Ultimate Fighting Championship, so I think his entire career is on Fight Pass. And he's been a pro since 2015. Rodriguez is 32 years old, born in Porto Velho, Brazil, training at Killcliff Fight FC. He is 15-5, 10 wins by knockout, 3 by submission. He's been stopped 3 times, all by knockout, and lost 2 decision fights. His last bout came in February of this year, a TKO win over Brad Tavares. That's back-to-back knockout wins for him. He's won 4 of his last 5, finishing all of them, and overall, he's finished his last 5 victories. He's been in the UFC since 2021, 6-2 in the promotion. The former LFA middleweight champion has been a pro since 2014 and has actually lost he actually lost 2 of his first 3 fights. I think this is a really interesting bout. You have a couple of guys, maybe like 29, you can still, I think, consider prospecty. 32, tough to say you are a prospect, but I think these are a couple of hidden gems in the middleweight division. Rodriguez, like we just said, 5 finishes in his last 5 victories. Everything he throws really, really hard. The RoboCop nickname certainly came into play in his bout against Brad Tavares, where he just, like, in the 3rd round, he's like, you know what? Feel like winning now, and just walked him down and just bludgeoned him with rights. And I was going to say rights and lefts. It was basically with rights and rights again. And more rights. He's just absolutely annihilating him with those. But everything he throws is really, really hard. And Tavares was starting to get maybe a bit of success, starting to counter things and starting to get into a bit of a rhythm in the 2nd round. And then in the 3rd, he just got the shit kicked out of him by Rodriguez before they called for the stoppage less than a minute in to that 3rd round. The one thing about him, though, is that the head stays basically center the entire time. Like, it's RoboCop, right? Like, it's just a ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. Like, a lot of the stuff, again, it's really, really hard, and he is a very good striker. But Duncan, there's a little bit more movement. There's a little bit more fluidity to what he is able to do. And again, everything he throws is really, really hard and comes with a lot of power. And so I worry a little bit about the defense of Rodriguez, that he's going to be a little bit hittable in this. Now, all of this being said, he just kicked the shit out of Brad Tavares on the feet. And Brad Tavares is a really, really skilled offensive fighter when it comes to the striking game. And so I think this is a really close matchup, actually. A very intriguing one in the middleweight division. I think a fight for a couple of guys who are going to be able to use this kind of bigger stage to advance their careers a little bit and kind of take advantage of the spotlight. I think Christian Leroy Duncan gets the job done. I'm really interested in him. I really like his striking. And quite frankly, it was a miss by me to not include him on the non-main event Fighters to Watch show that we did on Wednesday. Then we get into some of the bigger names on this card. In the lightweight division, it is Bobby Green taking on Paddy Pimblett. Bobby Green, 37 years old, out of San Bernardino, California, training at Pinnacle MMA. He is 32-15-1 with 1 no contest, 11 wins by knockout, 9 wins by submission. He has been finished 7 times in the 15 losses, 5 by knockout, 2 by submission. His last win coming at UFC 300 in a victory over Jim Miller. He's won 3 of his last 4, the only loss to up-and-coming contender Jalen Turner. Most significant strikes and most total strikes landed in lightweight history. Those marks both belonging to Green. He's been in the UFC since 2013, 13-10-1 in that time. After a 4-1 run in Strikeforce, he has been a pro since 2008. Taking on Pimblett, who has been an up-and-coming prodigy for a little bit now. 29 years old, born in Liverpool, England, training at Next Generation MMA Liverpool. 21-3 for the career with 6 wins by knockout, 9 by submission. He's been submitted once in the 3 losses that he has. The other 2 required the judges' scorecards. His last bout was against Tony Ferguson Ferguson, as he is just running through everyone's favorites from a decade ago at the UFC 296. It's a 7-fight win streak for him. The last 2 have been by decision after he finished the first 5. He's been in the UFC since 2021. He's 5-0 in the promotion, finishing the first 2 in the first round. He hasn't been finished since 2013. So when Bobby Green was starting in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, Paddy Pimblett was getting finished. He's a former Cage Warriors FC featherweight champion. Lost the fight for the vacant Cage Warriors FC lightweight championship, and he's been a pro since 2012. This is I think, significant step up for Paddy Pimblett. I know Tony Ferguson has the better resume, but where they are at in their careers, I think Bobby Green greater than sign Tony Ferguson. And I feel like there is going to be a lot of pressure on Paddy Pimblett because this is another, he's 37, it's an aging whatever. This is a true interesting test for Paddy Pimblett. And the one thing you can kind of knock him on for the Tony Ferguson performance, gas tank was running a little low in that third round. If Tony Ferguson can defend one takedown, that fight gets really, really interesting in that third round. But he didn't, and Pimblett was busy enough on top to finish that. Bobby Green could run a marathon and still whoop your ass. Like, he has cardio. I'm not going to say cardio for days, but he is certainly not one who tires out. And he did such an amazing job in the Jim Miller fight of almost forcing is the only way to say it. He forced that fight into the pace that he was comfortable with. The strikes come from everywhere. He has not, like, the whole, like, keep your hands up thing. He has spent exactly 0 days in his life fighting that way. The hands are down here always. And so because of that, he can be a little hittable at times, for sure. But also, because of that, the punches come from every direction imaginable. It's like, oh yeah, he's got a good jab. It comes from his hip, and he boom, throws it up like that. But he is such an interesting fighter, and he is basically like no one else Paddy Pimblett has faced before. This is, I think, legitimately a real step up in competition for Paddy Pimblett. And I know Paddy can be a little bit polarizing at times. And so the people who are against him are like, oh, Bobby Green's going to come in there and smash this kid. He's never faced anything like this before. And people who are on Paddy's side are like, look, this guy's a world beater. He's showing a well-rounded game. He can go out there and just powerbomb this old guy. I do think this is going to be a really, really close fight. I do think that we are at the point now where Paddy Pimblett's game has elevated a little bit beyond where Bobby Green is at this point. But this is going to be a true test of this prospect here in the lightweight division. But I think that this is going to be one of the ones that really gets that Paddy Pimblett hype train rolling again. I do think he gets the job done, but Lord help him if he doesn't get it done in the first 2 rounds, because I think Bobby Green is going to really ramp up the pressure going into that final round.
At Kroger Pharmacy, care is what's most convenient for you. Care is being here when you need us. We're open evenings and weekends. Care is helping you save more. Most insurance plans and discount cards are accepted at your local Kroger Pharmacy. Care is saving you time by managing your prescriptions online. You can request refills, check order status, and more. Care is convenience that works for everyone. Kroger Health, a world of care is in store. Services and availability vary by location. Age and other restrictions may apply. For coverage, consult your health insurance company. Visit the pharmacy or our site for details.
Every day, we rise, challenging ourselves to work for what we believe in. At U.S. Border Patrol, protecting our borders is more than a job. It's a calling. Agents answer the call, working together to keep our country and communities safe. If you're ready for a new mission, join U.S. Border Patrol and go beyond. Learn more at cbp.gov/careers.
At Kroger Pharmacy, care is what's most convenient for you. Care is being here when you need us. We're open evenings and weekends. Care is helping you save more. Most insurance plans and discount cards are accepted at your local Kroger Pharmacy. Care is saving you time by managing your prescriptions online. You can request refills, check order status, and more. Care is convenience that works for everyone. Kroger Health, a world of care is in store. Services and availability vary by location. Age and other restrictions may apply. For coverage, consult your health insurance company. Visit the pharmacy or our site for details.
And then we get into our 2 championship bouts of the evening. The first is for the interim heavyweight championship, as Tom Aspinall defends against Curtis Blades. Aspinall is 31 years old, out of Salford, England, training with Team Cowbon and Aspinall BJJ 14-3 for his career. He's finished every fight he's been in with 11 wins by knockout, another 3 by submission. He has also been finished in 2 of the 3 fights that he has lost, 1 knockout and 1 submission loss. His last bout was a victory for the interim heavyweight championship at UFC 295, a win over Sergey Pavlovich that gives him back-to-back first-round knockouts. The last 4 wins he has had have all come inside the first round. He's 7-1 in the octagon. He's finished all of his UFC fights. Only the second fight even made it to the second round. His only loss in the UFC was a knee injury against Curtis Blades. That's the only time he's taken an L in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. He has the shortest average fight time in UFC history at 2 minutes and 10 seconds. I'm sure there are a couple of qualifiers on that. And he has been a pro since 2014. Taking on Blades, who is 33 years old, out of Illinois, training at Elevation Fight Team. He is 18-4 with 1 no contest, 13 wins by knockout, another 5 by submission, and he has been stopped in all 4 of his losses. His last bout was a victory by knockout over Jailton Almeida at UFC 299. He's won 3 of his last 4, finishing all 3, again, 1 by injury to Tom Aspinall. In the UFC, he has been there since 2016, 13-4 in that time with 1 no contest. He has the most takedowns landed in UFC heavyweight division history, which is insane. He's a pro since 2014, BJJ purple belt under Cody Donovan, and was a junior college national champion and All-American out of Harper College. He has been, as I said kind of on the early stories, he has been dancing around this title shot for a really, really, really long time, and kind of ran into trouble every time that it's been, okay, this is going to be that opportunity. So I'm happy that even just coming off of 1 win, the victory over Almeida, I'm happy that he is able to get this opportunity here, but he is running into a buzzsaw. Tom Aspinall, I've said this before, if the John Jones mess wasn't happening, I think Aspinall would be one of the top stars in the sport, just given like the moniker of heavyweight champion, and his ability to finish fights, how aggressive he is, good looking dude, I would say. Like, he has all the star making ability that you would want. This guy should be fighting in soccer stadiums in England. And like I said on Monday, they're doing a decent job here. This arena seats about 23,000 people, I think, at its capacity. I don't know when you have to block everything off for the cage and media, how that changes things. But this guy should feel like a superstar with what he has been doing, and I feel like he is right there on the cusp of being that sort of a guy. He either needs to fight John Jones or needs John Jones to get out of his way. And I think John Jones not wanting to fight Tom Aspinall has every bit to do with Tom Aspinall being that much of an ass kicker. And look, I think that's more John Jones's team than John Jones. I would like to state that. Anytime we talk about a fighter ducking, I think John Jones, given the opportunity, would fight a grizzly bear. But I think John Jones's team is looking at name value and blah, 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 blah. But anyway, I just thought I'd put a caveat on that. This is an intriguing fight because Curtis Blades brings that wrestling pedigree that I certainly think you would assume would give someone like Tom Aspinall trouble. We just haven't seen him face trouble in the Ultimate Fighting Championship all that much. And that is something I worry about. Like, Almeida was able to pressure Curtis Blades in their fight at UFC 299, and really, he just kind of slipped. Excuse me. I'm still choked up about it. Jeez. He just kind of slipped into the takedown and left his head exposed, and Curtis Blades just was like, I'm just gonna keep elbowing this thing. And eventually got the win. So again, credit to him. And Curtis Blades is a really, really good fighter, a high-level fighter who should have had an opportunity like this probably a long time ago. I think this is a really bad matchup for him. While his stand-up has improved over the years, it is not to the level of a Tom Aspinall. And so I do think Aspinall kind of blitzes him again and is able to come away with a highlight reel sort of a finish coming up on Saturday. How does Curtis Blades win this fight? You got to time those takedowns perfectly, my guy. Because Aspinall, he doesn't really charge in recklessly, right? Like in his win over Pavlovich, Pavlovich kind of tagged him first and got him a little bit wobbly, but he stayed patient. And then as Pavlovich is coming in, it's that right to the temple that rots his equilibrium, and then Aspinall decides to separate him from consciousness for a second with another big right that closes the show. But he's not really a charge it in type. You are going to have to time a takedown perfectly for Blades. Like, he does have a path to victory, and it's not just a puncher's chance. Like, he is, quite frankly, 5 takedowns away from winning the Ultimate Fighting Championship's interim heavyweight championship. I was going to say 3 takedowns away, but that gives Aspinall 2 rounds, which is 10 minutes, to find that dynamite and detonate it. And that is the problem when you are facing a fighter like Tom Aspinall, is you have to be perfect for 25 minutes. Curtis Blades has the wrestling ability to be able to do that. It's just, will he get that opportunity? Because every fight starts on the feet, and I just think that is going to be too much of a hurdle for Blades to overcome. So I do think the hometown guy, Tom Aspinall, ends up getting the win. And that takes us to the main event of the evening in the welterweight division for the welterweight champion. It is that division's kingpin, and hometown favorite Leon Edwards going up against Bilal, remember the name, Muhammad. Edwards is 32 years old, out of Kingston, Jamaica, now residing in Birmingham, England, training at Team Renegade BJJ. He is 22-3 in his mixed martial arts career with 1 no contest. He's won 10 fights by stoppage, 7 of those by knockout, another 3 by submission. Math. His losses, he's never been stopped. He has been to decision twice and lost, and 1 DQ loss. His last victory was unanimous decision victory over Colby Covington at UFC 296. It was his 12th win in a row with 1 no contest in there, which just always throw things off so much. But whatever. He hasn't lost since losing to Kamaru Usman in 2015. He only has a pair of KO wins since 2015, and both of those were finished in the last minute. One was finished at the last second, and then the Usman one was with 56 seconds to go in that legendary bout. He is a BJJ purple belt and the former, wrong one. He has been a pro since 2011. Forget the purple belt part. That belongs to Bilal Muhammad, who is 36 years old, born in Chicago, Illinois, training at Rufus Sport and Chicago Fight Team. 23-3 with 1 no contest in his MMA career. 5 wins by knockout, another 1 by submission, the rest by decision. He was knocked out once in his career and has suffered 2 decision losses in his time in the octagon. His last fight, a decision win, all the way back at UFC 288 against Gilbert Burns. He is 9-0 with 1 no contest since his last loss in January of 2019. 7 of those 9 have gone to a decision. His only stoppage loss came in 2016. He lost 2 of his first 3 in the UFC, and is 14-1 with 1 no contest since then. That 1 no contest was an eye poke against Leon Edwards, and so it's interesting how similar the main and co-main are in terms of the storyline, where you have hometown favorites who are coming home, who maybe don't fully get the respect they deserve in their divisions. More Aspinall than Edwards. I think we all agree that Edwards is currently the best welterweight in the world. I think it's just more, he's traditionally been overlooked. Not like where Aspinall, I think, is just overall overlooked right now. But both these guys getting the hometown treatment against fighters who have been close to title shots for a number of years, kind of have a reputation of not being the most aesthetically pleasing fighters out there on the planet, and are now getting these opportunities after in rematches of fights where injuries ended both other fights. Like, it's really interesting, the parallels between the two. Anyway, Muhammad, 14-1 with 1 no contest since losing 2 of 3 to start his UFC tenure. BJJ purple belt, we covered that. And I was about to say, former Titan FC welterweight champion. This is a really, really interesting fight. I am happy Bilal Muhammad is getting this opportunity because, like I said, I feel like he has deserved it for a long time. And that had to be excruciating for him after a no contest where he gets poked in the eye and the fight ends. Now, I will say, that fight lasted at 5 minutes and 18 seconds, I believe it was. Leon Edwards controlled 5 minutes and 17 seconds of it, and then just happened to right in the eye, and that was that. Like, Edwards was in control of that bout. But since then, Edwards has gotten Diaz, Usman, Covington. Well, Muhammad has got a bunch of dudes you never heard of. And Gilbert Burns. That's oversimplifying things greatly, but you get my point. The roads traveled to this point have been significantly different for both of these fighters. And now they meet here in England. I have real worries about, not worries, that's overstating things. I don't know where Muhammad gets his win, because he is nowhere near the striker that Leon Edwards is right now. Edwards, we want to talk about the part of Edwards that is underrated. He might be like top 2 or 3 strikers in the world in mixed martial arts right now, with how accurate he is, the variety of strikes that he can comfortably hit you with, and the speed at which they come with. The accuracy, the speed, and the variety make him so dangerous. And then you watch the Colby Covington fight, and Colby wasn't able to take him down. And I just feel like if Colby wasn't able to take Leon Edwards down, I don't know if Belal was going to be able to. Different styles and whatnot, but I just feel like Leon Edwards has the takedown defense to nullify what Belal can bring, and he has the striking on the feet that I think is just going to match Belal Muhammad. Belal has made some amazing strides, and that is really where his opportunity comes, is that we haven't seen the best Belal Muhammad yet, which is crazy that he's still improving this much at 36 years old. And he didn't face the most resistance from Gilbert Burns, who obviously was dealing with a shoulder injury at UFC 288. But still, the fact that he did that to a living, moving human being was not something we thought Belal could do in the stand-up game. We know that he is a very talented wrestler, and cardio, gas tank for days, all of those things, right? But the stand-up has improved significantly. It's just not on the level of Leon Edwards, which is fine. 99.9% of the human population doesn't have the striking of Leon Edwards. 95% of the UFC population doesn't have the striking of Leon Edwards. I just feel like Edwards has the tools in the toolbox to stop Belal from getting in on the takedowns, and he has the tools in the toolbox to exploit what is not necessarily a weakness, but isn't the strength of Belal Muhammad. So I do think Leon Edwards is going to come away with a victory in this bout this weekend. So those are my predictions and our breakdown for the main card of UFC 304. So hope you guys enjoyed all the UFC 304 coverage throughout the week. Coming up next week, we'll have fights to make. We'll update our pound for pound rankings, recaps of the show. I'm not going to be able to watch the show live on Saturday, so we will see, hoping for a recap to come out at some point over the weekend, but that one's TBD. But for sure, we'll have all the reaction coming up on Monday. Plus, Terrence Crawford is back boxing, so we get right into that hamster wheel of fight coverage all over again, looking at Terrence Crawford, plus SummerSlam next weekend as well. So a lot to cover here on Couch Potato Diary. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Follow me on social media at Primetime Klein. Subscribe wherever you're consuming this. Like it if you're watching, review it if you're listening, and I'll talk to all of you sometime next week or on the weekend. We'll see, but I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the fights.
Every day, we rise, challenging ourselves to work for what we believe in. At U.S. Border Patrol, protecting our borders is more than a job. It's a calling. Agents answer the call, working together to keep our country and communities safe. If you're ready for a new mission, join U.S. Border Patrol and go beyond. Learn more at cbp.gov/careers. Every day, we rise, challenging ourselves to work for what we believe in. At U.S. Border Patrol, protecting our borders is more than a job. It's a calling. Agents answer the call, working together to keep our country and communities safe. If you're ready for a new mission, join U.S. Border Patrol and go beyond. Learn more at cbp.gov/careers.